Welcome back to the Extrapointe podcast, a podcast from Crosspoint Baptist Church. Thank you for listening. My name is Rye, youth pastor at Crosspoint, and I'm with Jim today, lead pastor of Crosspoint. Um, Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's been a good summer,
Yeah,
so I'm feeling good.
yeah. First bad weather this summer was yesterday,
Yeah, I
and
know.
hopefully it's over. It was a bummer. We were gonna go out and do like a picnic and all that stuff with some friends last night, and it obviously was raining, so
Yeah.
that was lame. But first of all, before we give any life updates or how things have been, here's why there's been a no podcast. It got busy. Um, that's basically the story. Is Jim, you had stuff going on. I had lots of stuff going on with my brother's wedding, with two camps. So you just kind of get busy. So, but we should be back every 2 weeks for sure, and then sometimes we'll probably have an episode within those 2 weeks as well. Just kind of depends. But yeah, that's the reason. That's why. Um, yeah. How have things been? You just had your birthday.
Yeah, birthday was fun. Um, we had all of our kids and their spouses and their kids all at the same place for the
Mm,
weekend,
yeah.
and it was a good time. We had a really special time of just being together, which we rarely get to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Sounds like a good time. Yeah, as I've said, crazy 3 weeks, first camp at the Cross Point was great. It was fun. Um, went really well. Every student wants to go back, so that's nice. Then Vietnamese camp, fun as well. Again, a lot. It was shorter, but still very. I mean, I think the first, like the main day that we were there, because we got there Friday, left on Sunday. On Saturday, I think I took 25,000 steps and walked
Oh,
like 13 miles, and so I was
man.
like, I'm tired. But that was great. Brother's bachelor party fun. Brother got married, which was awesome. That was super cool to see. Um, yeah, it was it was really fun. So, um, and then preaching, obviously,
Yeah.
which was also good. Uh, but yeah, yesterday I kind of like was like, I'm just gonna sit at home and here's what I need to do, but I'm gonna take like a full like or half kind of like I'm not doing
Mm.
anything for work today. And it was nice. I like relaxed and hung out with Jenna, and we're like trying to figure out a gym membership to start and different things like that. So it was fun.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'll start with our questions. Is there a common misconception about you that you want to clear up?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I think the only thing I could think of is that I think because I'm a pastor, a lot of people think I'm an extrovert, but I'm really not. So,
Oh, yeah.
like, I get a lot of my energy comes from doing things alone.
Hmm.
I love people, and but I always would tell this story about how Sonia's quieter than I am, but she's the extrovert.
Right.
And the way you know that is, what do you do Sunday after church? Well, I want to go home and just be alone. And
Yeah.
Sonia is very open to going out to lunch with anybody that wants to
Uh
and
huh.
carrying on the conversation.
Yeah.
And so that's a good difference between an introvert and extrovert. It's not who talks more, because I probably talk more, but
Yeah.
where do you get your energy from?
Exactly.
And for me, it's being alone. So
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, that would be if I didn't already have a different one, that would be one as well. I'm definitely not an extrovert at all. I need space and time alone. But I don't watch movies every day. That doesn't happen.
what? That's
That's
shocking.
like that's what like that's people think I like watch movies 24/7. I don't.
Huh.
I don't have time for that nor the energy for that. Because especially if I want to pay attention, which I try to make my hobby like meaningful, not just like turning my brain off. But yeah, I don't watch movies every day. That's like I know people that do. Not like personally. I know like people I follow on social media that watch like a couple movies a day. I'm like,
Wow.
I'm jealous a little bit, but that's crazy. So, what is your favorite fun fact?
Yeah, so, I was actually, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's the most recent. I heard today on a podcast I was
Mm.
listening to that that half of the geysers are at Yellowstone. You
Mm.
know, so there's geysers all over the world, but
Uh-huh.
but
Half,
the
wow.
half of them are in one place.
That's crazy. I
Yeah.
That is a fun fact. Um, the one I thought of, there's two that I thought of, but one's about pickleball and how they got the name pickleball.
Hmm.
Um, they used like I don't know if it was it was two guys in their front driveway, and they had tennis rackets and a wiffle ball, and they would play over this net. I don't know what kind of net it was, but it was maybe a tennis net or something like that. But they would play, and then every time the ball would go kind of out there crazy, their dog named Pickle would go get the ball, and so then it became pickleball. The other one that I love is in the movie Good Will Hunting. I don't know if you've seen it, but Robin Williams obviously he's one of him and Matt Damon, and Robin Williams is a counselor in the movie, and he's counseling Matt Damon, and he's telling a story of like uh, and the character in is telling a story of his wife who um, will fart in her sleep, and it wakes
Oh,
her up, and she freaks out, and then but he's it's a real story from Robin Williams' real life about
oh,
his wife,
nah.
and it was improvised, and they were dying loud, and so I mean I think it's super funny, which I love, but
Wow.
yeah,
Who would have guessed it?
yeah, right. Robin Williams is a funny guy. Favorite birthday memory.
Yeah. So this weekend was great for me, and
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about it. Sonya's thrown this wasn't really a surprise party, but she's thrown kind of two birthday parties for me. Really
Mm-hmm.
three, but two big ones. One
Yeah.
when I was 30, and one when I was 40. I don't know what happened when I was 50, but I didn't get anything. But then for
Yeah.
60, I got one.
Uh-huh.
And the first one was great because there was a place we used to eat barbecue at when we lived in Portland called Campbell's Barbecue.
Mm.
That's closed down many years ago, and it was
Mm.
such a great place. And they had just bought the adjacent property, and they were using it for events. And so Sonia found out about it and had a bunch of people from church and other friends came,
Mm.
and I just thought we were going out for barbecue, which would have
Yeah.
been great. I walk in and there's like 50 people in there, and
Right.
so that was really
That's
a
awesome.
good time.
That's
And then
super
on
fun.
my 40th birthday, I got my bike that I'm always riding around
Oh,
now. So
nice.
I've had that road bike for 20 years. It's
Oh my
been
goodness.
great.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's a good product if you've had
I
every
know. I kind of thought I wanted another one, but then I realized I just love this one. I'm used to it, and it's
right.
fine.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
That's cool.
How about you?
Um yeah, when I was when I turned 17, my cousin who's 6 months younger than me, we waited. Like it wasn't like on my birthday, but we went to Disneyland as our few families, like my cousins and stuff, for like 4 days, and it was like all revolved around me and my cousin. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Um, and then I'm trying to remember what we did this last year. I'm trying. Oh no, it was the year before. Oh my, I'm blanking. I think it was. I just we the before COVID. That's what it was. Before COVID, I went to the beach with Jenna and some friends, and that was really fun. And it was like COVID was like a thing, but it was like this isn't a thing, and so it was
Right.
like our last hurrah before everything shut down.
Yeah.
So it was like memorable because of that.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I was telling people that because the place that we went is called Onalaska, which is a little town near Chehalis, and
Hmm.
there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And of course, many people have thought that we went to Alaska. It's like, well, we were
Yeah.
just gone for the weekend, so
Yeah.
pretty sure we did not go to
That's
Alaska, but we
funny.
went to
Oh, in
Onalaska.
Alaska. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's different. It's like what it's like Paris, Texas. Like
Yeah,
it's
right.
not the same thing.
Huh.
Like someone if they fly to go to Paris for the Olympics and they go the wrong one. But are you watching the Olympics? If so, what events do you enjoy watching?
Yeah, I haven't. They were on one night, but I just haven't really paid attention. So
Yeah.
I think it's well, it's not. Well, it might be comical, but I'm realizing that the United States in basketball has had some trouble in their qualifying games, like South Sudan almost beat them and stuff.
Yep.
So I want to watch basketball a little bit, um, and I like Simone, so I want to see how
Yeah,
she's
of
doing,
course.
and yeah, but I haven't watched them much. They're still going on, right, for a few more weeks.
Yeah, they're on for I don't know how long, but they're
Okay,
definitely
yeah.
on. I've watched basketball, I've seen some reruns because I mean the Olympics end like officially, like all the competitions, like for each day they end around 1 p.m. here
Okay,
because of the time difference.
yeah,
And so if you want to watch it live, like there's stuff at like 2 in the morning that's live. But yeah, I mean, I like watch. I've seen clips of ping pong. I've
yeah.
seen clips of skateboarding, which I think is fun. Gymnastics. There's a girl on the gymnastics team that she's doing the floor routine, I believe. She went to Prairie High School.
Oh wow,
She's friend or my friend knew her and was,
hmm
um,
wow, that's impressive.
yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen much of the Olympics. I do know though we have the most medals, right?
yeah, by a lot,
Yeah,
like a
that's kind of
significant more. Like I mean, it's like over 1,000 more than the next country, which is
gosh,
Russia.
man.
So yeah, I mean, it's like it's like 4th of July, same thing. Like the Olympics come around, I'm like the most patriotic. I'm like, go US.
Yeah,
I love the US, but like I'm extra love the US during the Olympics. So, is there anything that should be an Olympic sport that isn't an Olympic sport?
I had to ask you about this before we came on because you said ping pong, which
Yeah,
which is amazing to watch. Really skilled ping pong players, and I love baseball, so I
yeah,
think baseball should be part of every athletic endeavor. But
yeah,
um, I know that that's probably not what most people would say.
yeah. I mean, I would say like pickleball, as it's like new. I love spike ball. I think spike ball would be like the coolest Olympic sport ever. Um, I think it'd be interesting to do video games in the Olympics. Not because like I love them that much, but I think it'd be cool. And then the last one, just out of pure United States pride, everyone complains that when the NFL, like the Super Bowl happens, they call themselves world champions.
All right.
I think we should do football to prove that we would kick
We really are the world
everybody's
champions.
behind. We would, it would not. I mean, that would be the easiest gold medal ever.
I'm
But
surprised you didn't say movie trivia since you watch movies every day.
like Jeopardy World on the Olympic stage would be so cool. That would be fun. They're
Yeah.
making a pop culture Jeopardy show on
Oh
Amazon,
wow.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, can I be on that? So yeah, I'm sure there's lots of other sports. There's lots of spike ball's my main one.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. But
Yeah. So hey, you preached for me Sunday.
I did.
So you want to talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit?
let's talk about it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I noticed when I was outlining Matthew, before the series even started, we've been at it for a long time now. That
Hmm.
I noticed there's probably 4 or 5 different sections where it's just Jesus healing people, right,
Yeah.
and Jesus doing miracles. And so
Hmm.
I think in my notes, I'm sure you had a better title. I just watched your message; it was good. I just put, miracles of Jesus, and then for yours, more miracles of Jesus, and then a
Right.
few weeks later, we're gonna even more
Even more
miracles
miracles
of
of Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I liked what you did Sunday, and so you just talked about how Jesus is the miracle worker, and then you
Hmm.
talked about the miracles that he did,
Hmm.
and just give if people weren't here, give them a little recap of if you remember the
Yeah.
three categories. So
Yeah. So I started like you said, there's like it's all these healings and all these things Jesus is doing, and like he's calming the storm and he's healing the leper, and it's like you took like the authority aspect of it and trusting. I was like, I don't want to just regurgitate the same thing, even though
yeah,
it's
true. Right.
it's all the same stuff there. But yeah, so he just bro, I was like, I'm getting Jesus is the miracle worker. He works miracles, and that was kind of the transforming truth. And then first one was the miracle of deliverance. He delivered two demons out of these two men and into pigs, who then ran into some water. And the miracle that is casting out demons. Obviously, it's not as common nowadays. I've never seen it happen. I don't know if you've ever seen that happen, but it does happen. I know people that have experienced that or been a part of things like that. Not experience. I don't know anybody that's ever been uh, possessed, but So the miracle of deliverance and delivering someone from that evil. Then there was the miracle of healing. Um, I mean, had been seen kind of like the last few weeks as well, but that Jesus miraculously healed this guy physically and spiritually, which then leads into the third kind of point, that the miracle of salvation, the miracle of the gospel, which is often, I said the miracle that's forgotten, because most people, when they learn of miracles, or they maybe gain a theology that believes in miracles, whatever the case may be, it's typically, I'm searching for that thing over and over and over again, and
Right.
it's like this high, or this crazy, because it's obviously cool, it's amazing, but there's no greater miracle than us being saved.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah.
For sure. I like what you said about, I like how you brought in the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego story too.
Hmm.
Like, just remind us what you said about that.
Yeah, those three guys, they're under King Nebuchadnezzar. I call him Nebi because
Mhm.
students think it's funny. At least I think they think it's funny. Maybe they don't. But they're about to go in the fiery furnace because they didn't bow down to this giant golden image and worship it, because they are going to worship Yahweh, not anything else. And Nebuchadnezzar turns up the heat to the furnace, and he basically mocks God. He's like, "Who's this God? Who's gonna save you? Nobody's gonna save you." And he's like, "Our God." They say, "Our God can, our God will, but even if He doesn't, we will basically still praise Him." And I think that that's like a perfect framework, I guess, for how to believe in Jesus for miracles. Like if someone
Mhm.
gets, like, to be candid, like Jenna's grandpa and grandma both have pancreatic cancer, and you pray knowing, like, God can clearly. You pray, God, I you will do this. Like, I have faith that you will do this. But if you don't, it's like two things can be true at the same time. I
Yeah,
still trust you.
no, that's good. And I hadn't thought about that story, which is probably good because then you wouldn't have used it if I had thought about it. But
I'm
that,
glad you didn't think about it.
yeah.
I love using it.
Eh, well, I was just thinking about the story about the lepers, him healing the lepers, and they came. I mean, one leper came up to him and said, "If you're willing, you can
Yeah.
make me clean." I thought that's just a good way to look at it. We know God can, Jesus can and does miracles,
Yep.
but the question is always, is he willing? And sometimes, it's just the course of life. Like we pray for like grandparents, right? And we
Hmm.
realize, but it's the Bible says it's destined for us to die,
Yeah.
right? Like that's their future. But can God heal them of this? Yeah, He can.
Yeah.
And the question I always ask God is will you
Right.
do this? And
Right.
if you
Yeah.
will, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And but if you won't, we'll still praise you because you don't change. And I don't know that we've quite figured out the mind of God to know why He does some miracles and doesn't
Uh
do
huh.
other miracles.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely have not. I'm still wondering why he does certain things and doesn't do other things. But yeah, if you stop at like the God can, God will, but if you stop at the will without the if he doesn't, then you create a really bad theology.
Right,
And you get into some dangerous territory where that theology exploits people and for
right,
money. And I mean, you get some of those big name guys that just have faith, God's gonna heal you, and like that's not true. You can have faith that He will, but it also be okay with if He doesn't. That
right.
God still loves you. God's okay. Like there's a quote I heard that's like some false teacher quoted like Jeremiah 29:11. Of
Hmm.
course, it's always the one, and it was like, yeah, God has a wonderful plan for your life, a plan to blah 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 blah, all this stuff. And then this theologian came on. He's like, I think it was American Gospel, but he was like, yeah, God does have a wonderful plan for your life, but He had a wonderful plan for Paul. He had a wonderful plan for the disciples. He had a wonderful plan for Jesus.
Right.
Those all ended pretty
Yeah.
poorly,
Right.
So it doesn't take away God's love for us.
Yeah. Would you say that the first miracle you talked about was the demon possessed people? Do you
Hmm.
think that people are demon possessed today?
I mean, I've never seen it
Yeah.
um, personally. I would say so. I believe that I think that there's angels, I think there's demons, I think that you know the Bible in itself, I think I offhandedly said this, but the Bible in itself is spiritual. I think it's just spiritual realm. Ephesians
Yeah,
6 talks about the rule of this world is, the principalities, it's the devil. It's I don't know how common, like demons are not omnipresent, nor there's not unlimited, like they're limited.
yeah,
At least what I've gathered, my opinion. But I think they're real. I think it happens. I know people, like other pastors that have experienced something like that, and I don't have any reason to believe that they're lying or anything like that.
yeah. I had a really strong experience with that in my first church. There was I was the pastor, but I was also, it was a smaller church, right? I was teaching Bible study on Sunday morning and
Mm,
then preaching after that. And
hmm
there was this lady in our group that was, about my age, but probably a little older than me because I was really young at the time.
hmm
And she would share with the class about how she would just have these impulses
hmm
to hurt herself.
mm,
And I told her one day, I said, "Man, if you ever feel that way, like, is there a time where you feel it happening and you're not in that position? Like you're not literally ready to do it, but you can feel it happening." And she said, "Yeah, it's like a process. I can sort of feel it happening." And I said, "So if that ever happens, will you just call me and let me come over and help you?" And so it's just like a couple of weeks later, she called me, and when she called me on the phone, she said, "Remember, you said you'd come help me? Well, I'm feeling like I've got some knives, and I'm gonna use them and cut myself
oh
and
my
hurt
goodness.
myself." And I said, "I'll be right over." So she only lived like 5 minutes away, and so I
Yeah.
drove over there. And when I walked in the apartment, I knocked on the door, and I came in. She had a total different voice. She looked kind of like you would expect a
Right.
demon possessed person to look,
Right.
and she was saying things to me that weren't like, she's the nicest lady,
Yeah.
sweetest lady, and really participated in our Bible study all the time. But you know, I got the knives out of her house,
hmm
her apartment, and she I took her to the hospital, and
Yeah.
checked her in, and she stayed there for a while, which has been kind of a routine. And so what the doctors in the medical community all said is that this is she's got some kind of schizophrenia or
Yeah.
something. It's a
hmm
mental illness. And that may be true, but what I saw was really bizarre.
Yeah.
And there was no healing. I didn't know how to heal her, so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Right.
just wanted to help her and get her out of that situation so she didn't hurt herself. So I don't have any doubt that people are influenced and even indwelt by demons today,
hmm
and Jesus is still capable of
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah, it's Jesus through someone else's prayer.
Right.
Typically, like my small group leader, my first ever small group leader in middle school. I still know him to this day. I play basketball with him on Sunday nights. I love him. He's awesome. He was walking. I think he was in Portland like years and years ago. He told me this story in middle school, so this is a while ago. But he was in Portland and he saw this guy. He was with just buddies. They were walking around just praying for people, and he saw this guy, kind of rummaging around the garbage. This homeless guy, and um, they just walked up to him and they're just like, "Hey, just want to tell you that Jesus loves you." And his voice and demeanor like went all. I mean, kind of it was like weird because
Mhm.
he was already kind of offbeat, kind of he was
Yeah, out of
homeless,
it. Mhm.
but he like his voice changed and all this stuff, and they're like, "Oh wow, this is like." They kind of all felt like there was something going wrong, so they kind of like held him down and prayed for him, and had this crazy experience, and then he was just there was this weird,
Hmm.
just he just completely changed, and it was like,
Yeah.
what in the world? So that's one of the only stories that I know, but it's
Yeah,
crazy.
and I like what you said too about the whenever someone comes to know Christ, it's the greatest miracle of all
Yeah.
because it's not just a physical miracle. I mean, other people might see a physical miracle and think that's the most incredible thing, but we know when our heart and our life and our destiny and our desires all change because of Christ and what He did on the cross and the resurrection, that's really what it's all about.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. No, I agree. I mean, the it's like the fact that it happens is crazy. Like we don't deserve it. Like you just break it down on like a logical level. Like this should have never happened. Just given our condition.
yeah. one of the things we did for my birthday is we had some worship time together,
Mm,
and then I had prepared for each family a benediction, like
mm,
we've been doing in church, like a blessing on their
yeah.
family. And so I texted it to all of them, and they read these things. And I was just thinking about how, and I shared with them how one of the reasons I wanted us all to be together is because, as far as I know, in my family, there were no Christians for many generations before me.
Hmm.
And now that I became a Christian and married a Christian, and we have Christian kids and they have Christian spouses,
Yeah.
it's like a legacy. It's
Hmm.
just a beautiful thing, and it's miraculous that ideally for until Jesus comes, Fitzpatrick's and Merrimans will be having
Hmm.
kids, and they'll have kids that are believers, hopefully.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so I think that's pretty miraculous, and that
Yes.
led to a lot of. This is a lot of. It was a weird thing. I didn't expect it, so we sang some songs and we shared some scripture, and I gave these benedictions, and then my oldest son, led a prayer for me, and
Hmm.
we were just all weeping the whole time. And
Right.
it's like
Right. Right.
part of it was just sensing that God did all this. He
Right.
put our family together, and now we're going in a whole different direction than my family and their family before. Parents,
Right.
multiple generations, and that's the greatest thing of all is what Christ does.
Yeah, and that's why testimonies are so cool. Not that there's, testimonies that are worse or less amazing, because I always, I've heard someone talk about the miracle of salvation before. It's one of my good pastor friends, and he always says, like, if you think your testimony is like lame, like, because there's obviously ones where, like, I'll use a prison, like he was in prison or he killed somebody. I mean, crazy stuff. Comes to know Jesus, their life miraculously changes. Amazing, a miracle, clearly. But my friend always says that, like, if you think that your like testimony is lame, or you think it's like not as cool, or like he's like you have a severe lack of knowledge of your depravity and like how bad you actually were and how big God's grace actually is, which I think is just, it's like, I grew up in a Christian home. I did it,
Hmm.
but me being saved is just as miraculous as the guy who
Right.
went to prison.
Yeah, people need to hear that, right? Because God doesn't just save us from all the bad things that we've done, but He saves us from doing some of those things, right? And
Yeah.
messing up our lives so badly.
Mm-hmm. 100%. So,
Anything else about your message you want to reiterate? It was good.
I don't think so. In my sermon illustration, was not a movie recommendation. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah, yeah.
If you know the movie, that's on you. Okay.
Hmm.
I just think it's a, uh, when I was thinking about, my illustration and just how often pop culture uses miracles, because it's such a thing that no one can explain. We can, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I was remembered that scene, and I was like, this is actually a perfect scene. It's just, unfortunately, in a movie that's not suitable for the average viewer. So
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of those examples, and it's good to just do what you did, just to say, "Hey, I'm not recommending this, but this
this
does sort of bring out the point that
it
I'm
did,
trying to
yeah.
make."
It's like I was talking to my friend about it because my friend loves the movie. He's a Christian, he's a pastor as well.
Mhm.
And we were talking about it, and um, he's like, "You're not playing the clip, right?" I'm like, "No." They say a little, like, Samuel Jackson kind of does his thing in that clip where
Right,
he's like
right.
he's cussing up a storm. So
Yeah.
I was like, "No, I'm just
Huh.
gonna explain it." So, but yeah, I mean, and then also I got some feedback on the It As Well story.
Mhm.
Some people never heard that, and I just think I mean, it's a beautiful story, and
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
it takes some real understanding of that miracle of the gospel to do something like that, to write that song
Right.
over the place where your kids passed away. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I don't have any movie recommendations, but you know what I started doing? Because you may have one, but,
Hmm.
I started watching Psych, Sonia and I did.
Oh,
I
really?
know it's like one of your
It's the
favorites,
best
right?
show
Yeah.
ever made.
So, this is in the summertime, the couple shows we watch on broadcast TV. I
Uh-huh.
mean, they're on a break, and so we thought, well, let's start watching Psych. So we've been watching it, and the Merrimans love it too. And so it's a
Hmm.
typical, like, we've done this a lot of nights. We've just gone down there and had dinner with them and
Watch Psych.
watched Psych, together.
what season are you on? Season one?
Just
Season
season
one
one,
still?
yeah, we're
Oh
like
gosh,
12 or 13
yeah. It's
episodes in.
I could watch that show over and over and
Huh.
over again. Like it's so fun. I think it's hilarious. Yeah, it's so good. I can talk about it for too long, and so
Huh.
movie recommendation is I watched this movie a couple days ago. Back to the Future.
Hmm.
It's
I've heard of that one.
it's good.
Huh.
It's like 80s, 90s, 80s, I
Yeah.
think. And it's fun for the whole family. There are a couple like there's like a couple swear words. There's the 80s, but it is rated PG.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just fun, good time. Michael J. Fox is awesome, Christopher Lloyd. So
Yeah.
highly, highly recommend it. So, but yeah, that does it for our episode back after some hiatus. So we will see you guys next time.